Hello, welcome to Walford United WFC. Hello, welcome to Walford United with me, John Foster, MUFC. We've got three fantastic guests with us tonight to discuss a rumour, or is it a rumour? Is it more than a rumour? I think it's slightly more than a rumour. If David Ornstein tweets about it, came out from the United Journal, I think it was a couple of 3 days ago. Adriana Leon from West Ham, we're potentially looking out for, or it's going to be interesting. I've also heard Brighton are also in with a shout of signing her and maybe even abroad. She's out of contract this summer, so there's a good chance. There's no smoke without fire on this one. So I want to get into it, but before we do, let's say hello to a few people. Barry, how you keeping, mate?
Hello. Yes, not too bad at all. Thank you. Bit sunburnt today. Got caught on it. I'll try and stay in the shade. Didn't work very well. So this isn't me. This is a shirt, but this very much attack of the sun.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Barry. Really appreciate it. Connor is having the night off. He's constantly on these shows on the men's channel and the women's channel, so he's having a night off. But managed to get three great guests anyway. Reece, you've been on the show before, been off for a while. How are you keeping? You okay?
Yeah, good, mate. Just already looking forward to the new season, to be fair.
Yeah, I can't believe it. It's like end of the season before the next season, and I'm in that period where I want games, but then I also want a bit of a break. It's a bit awkward, but there's always transfer gossip. There's always Twitter. There's always YouTube to look out for. So there's always something going on. But yeah, thank you for joining us, Reece, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about this player as well. Rodney, how you doing? You okay?
I'm all right, thank you. And it's nice to be on the show as a guest and not have to prep anything and just turn up looking slightly dishevelled and talking football.
Rodney, you know what? It's absolutely true. I mean, I had a cracking show on this channel. I think Barry might have been on it about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was just a guest more than the host. And you're certainly a different person when you haven't got any stress to, you can just put in whenever you want and have a laugh whenever you want. And it is a different vibe when you're not hosting. But either way, thank you very much for coming on, Rodney. So yeah, first of all, let's just get into it a little bit. I'm just going to ask each and every one of you, do we think it's the truth? You know, do we actually think that we are after this player? I personally think that we're definitely monitoring him at least. Why wouldn't we? We need more attacking players. She's out of contract, which means it's going to be a good price. Obviously, used to the WSL. I'm interested to hear what Reece says actually about the player. So, first of all, shall we start off with Reece then? Do you think there's any truth in this?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think she'll be after her. She's a great player, a great asset. I mean, we just had a choke with you, John. The only trouble with Adriana Leon is keeping her on the pitch, because she's not. To be honest, for most of her West Ham career, I think I can remember more times of me moaning about her being injured than me saying how great she's been on the pitch. To be completely honest. But you know, if you can keep her fit, she'll be one of your main players next season. And I also think, to be fair to her, she finds her level at Manchester United. I think when she's fit, she's far too good for our team at the level it is right now. But out of the teams that are rumoured to get her, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Manchester United, and Brighton, and I don't believe the Brighton one. If we lose a player to Brighton, I think I'll give up for the season, to be fair. But Man United, I think if I had a choice in the women's game between Barcelona, Real Madrid and Manchester United, I'd pick Barcelona, unless Manchester United are offering me double the wages or something. So I think if all the rumours are true, we'll go to Barcelona, to be honest.
Is she good enough quality to be at Barcelona, do you think? Have you seen things in her where, you know, one of the best clubs in Europe, if not the best club in Europe?
I definitely think she's got the talent to be at Barcelona. I don't think she'll be a starter there. I think she'll be on the bench, and it depends what type of character she is, whether she wants to start week in, week out, which I believe she does. However, sometimes offers are too good to decline. And if you offer any player, men or women, the opportunity to play for Barcelona or Real Madrid, no matter what their squad place is going to be, they're going to accept it. It's a lot of people's dreams to go and play for them at the club.
And just one last thing before I let the guys, Rodney, Barry, you start thinking of questions to ask Reece. Instead of me asking the questions, I'll let you guys. You might have questions as United fans or football fans in general. Because I'm hogging the limelight a little bit, but it's almost like we could all interview Reece on this show. But yeah, just one more. You did mention injuries. We're not great. We're not a great club to keep people fit. We do have a fair few injuries ourselves. What kind of injuries has she had off the top of your head? Can you kind of remember what kind of injuries they are?
I think a lot of them are hamstring injuries, to be fair. Yeah, I can't really remember. I can remember having one hamstring injury, I'm quite sure. But yeah, she's one of them players. She gets to run a game and you think, well, Adriana Leon's back, she's fit, she's firing, and then next week she'll be out of the team, injured. Just one of them. I think it's just one of them things. I don't know if it's a mental thing with her, or she's just. To be fair, I think some of them. To be completely honest, I think with West Ham, knowing the way we are, I think a couple of them have occurred because we've rushed her back, and then she's become injured again. But yeah, like I said to you, if you're already not that good at keeping players fit, as a medical team at your club, you're going to struggle keeping Adriana Leon fit for a whole season.
I've left this comment on screen, so I'll just shout this one out, and then Barry, I'll just let you take over. For me, Leon is not a player on standby to replace Russo, but we do need more strength in depth. But what I do see in Leon is someone who could be another option up front. I get that. I think I'm quite like that as well. Barry, what's your thoughts on this? Oh, go on. Yeah.
Adriana Leon will improve your wing. If you play a left or right wing, she'll improve it. From the players I've seen at Manchester United, I think she's better than all of your players that play on the wing.
We'll come back to that. Definitely. Go on, Barry, mate.
Well, I mean, I was literally going to say the same thing there. It's more of a winger. We're talking about having Leon to replace Russo, but actually Russo at the moment has been the spearhead. She's been playing in the centre. She's the striker. She's the focal point. So you're sort of not comparing it's apples and oranges, really, isn't it? Because we're not talking about a striker here. We're talking about somebody who's going to be playing out on the wing. So really you're looking at Leah Goulden there. You're looking at Martha Thomas, Kirsty Hansen, all those sorts of players. And, it's almost like, are we comparing them against the wrong people? What I would say is goal-wise, she's not going to be as prolific, certainly. She's been at West Ham, I think, for about 3 years, and she's got 9. Whereas, obviously, Russo's been with us for a couple and has managed to get 12. So she's slightly ahead of her already in that respect. So I'm not entirely convinced that we are comparing like for like in the manner that we probably should. But I think the thing that stands out for me there is we've got Reece saying here that it should improve the team, saying that it would be a better level for United, saying that she could potentially cut it at Barcelona and Real Madrid, which is all positive things to hear. What I didn't hear, and probably the thing that for me, as the team that finished 4th, would worry me more, is that I would have wanted the opening gambit there from Reece to have been, no, we don't want to lose her, keep your hands off. And I think for me, the question I've got for you there, Reece, is would you be sorry to see her go? Is it one of those things where you think that actually you're just being gracious and you think maybe she's too good for the team that you've got? Or is it actually just a case of, she's not really as good as you're making her sound and you just want us to go, yeah.
No. That's not the case at all. I'm not that bothered in seeing her go completely, not because of her talent on the pitch, but because I see it as we could potentially get a player or find the player somewhere, because I think we've got quite a good scout system at West Ham. And I think we could get a young English player or a young foreign player in that position that can keep fit for the whole season and be as good as Leon. And if we can do that, we'll improve ourselves massively. If it was based on talent and she was fit for a whole season, I'd be sitting on this show saying I hope she goes nowhere. But what's the point of having the talent of a player she is, if she's not going to stay fit for the whole season, and we're a club at West Ham where we need to keep our budget tight, we need to find the right players, and we need to find the right players that will stay fit all season, because we haven't got the biggest a budget like Man United where we can keep players on a big wage like she is. I think at West Ham, I think she's one of the highest paid players and not be fit for the whole season. We can't do that. So if she was fit for the whole season, I'd be honest, we don't want her to leave. I'm gutted to see her go, but she can't stay fit, so I'm not too bothered, to be honest.
Fair enough. I think what I'd also add to that is that she's played, I think it was 78 games, I think I saw, for her Canadian national team, and scored 23 goals, which is not too bad of a return over a long period. But it again points out the fact that I think she's more of a playmaker or more of a provider, perhaps, than being the person that's going to pop the ball into the back of the net. So I guess that's my point there, I think.
If you're going to play as a striker, if you're going to play as a striker, she goes 2 up top. She can't play up front on her own. At the start of the season, we played a 2 up top with Leon, and it was a really good formation. She really started to start firing for West Ham really in that position. But if it's a run up top, she's a winger. And I think there was just a comment on the stream that Leon's a lot like Lehmann at West Ham. That's not true, because Leon's attitude's better. I think the reason Alicia Lehmann left West Ham is because she was found to have quite a bad attitude off the pitch. Where with Leon, that's not the case. I think she's got a better attitude. She's better mentally around the dressing room. And to be fair, I think the reason why Lehmann's at Aston Villa and not at a higher club, it is because of that attitude.
So I think basically it sounds then, I was just going to say, if we keep her fit, that makes us the Kings of Leon, right?
Oh, see what you did there. See what you did there.
You think? Rodney, what's your thoughts? Tell us, Rodney, what do you think?
I mean, Reece has made some really, not so much bold statements, but interesting statements. He talks about that Man United will be a better fit for her. And Barry, you're right. When you asked the question as to why Reece isn't kind of standing by a player to say, we want to keep her, she's part of our team, spoken very well about her attitude, saying that she's a good egg. But injuries probably, and the financial situation for the club is probably the biggest things in terms of the link to Man United, because West Ham themselves could come out and say this player's not going anywhere. Big part of our team. In terms of the league position, there's 15 goals, or 15 points, should I say, between where Man United finished and West Ham. When you talk about the rumor of Leon going to United to replace Russo, who might be going, you're talking about someone who scored 2 goals in the WSL last season, as opposed to someone who scored 9 goals. There's a very big difference in terms of where you finish in the league. Man United finished in the league where they did because they had goal scorers. West Ham finished where they were because they didn't have enough goal scorers. So if you're just on that alone, in terms of what Man United want as a player, for a player coming in, you want like for like. And I'm not saying that Adriana Leon is a bad player. I'm not saying that she's not good enough to play for Manchester United. She probably is. In terms of the output that Manchester United need, what they need, goals. If you've got someone rumoured to be leaving that's going to get you close to 10 goals a season, you don't go and replace them with someone who's not scoring that amount, or even half of that amount. Doesn't make any sense at all. Now, if you want her to go to United, or if United are interested in her in terms of a squad player, Reece was saying that she's better than Galton, and I'm like, ooh, like that's a bold. For me, I know that she's won, the Olympics, but that's a bold statement to make.
Talent-wise, she is though, wasn't she?
I'm not saying that she doesn't have the talent. I'm not saying that she doesn't. I just haven't seen enough of that from her in a West Ham shirt. In the Canadian setup, it was clear to see what she could do. But in the West Ham shirt, I don't think I've seen enough of that for Manchester United to say we're going to nail our colours to this and say we are getting this player to replace a goal scorer. If it's to add depth to the squad, I get it. But if it's to replace an outgoing striker who scored close to 10 goals, I don't get it. That's the bit that I can't quite work out. And in terms of the interest for the player and Manchester United, then it's as I said to John on Twitter in a little message, there are so many questions to that in terms of where the Man United stand, what are they looking for going forward, if they have enough money to go and buy the players that they want to break into the top three, and are West Ham happy enough because of the financial situations that they're in to let a talented player who has got a winning mentality go? Those are the questions. Those are just sort of a couple of the questions that I've got. But it was interesting just listening to Reece, talk very positively about this player. At no point did you say anything bad, negative, but you wouldn't be upset or sad to see a goal, or not to say that the club haven't put up any kind of defence to say, no, this player needs to stay.
West Ham would favour a contract offer, I think. But, I was told she was saying that at the end of the season.
No, but those are the things that I'm listening to and just trying to gauge and think it's interesting. In terms of the player, I like the player. I like the player, and I think if Manchester United were interested in her 2 seasons ago, it would have made sense to say this is the type of player we want to go for. But now, I don't get it. If they were talking about squad depth 2 years ago, it would have made sense to me, because but now I suppose because she's possibly on a free agent, it makes sense. And from that, you've got a number of questions which you could pose in relation to that.
But there's one, a lot of comments coming in today about Leon replacing Russo, and her, you guys saying she's not a goal scorer. But Man United are interested in that. If that's the case, if you're bringing Adriana Leon in to be a goal scorer, for me as a West Ham fan looking at that, first of all, I'm laughing because she's not a goal scorer. She's a playmaker. She plays on the wing and she provides chances for strikers. That's what she does. And if you're Manchester United and you've been scouting for a striker, maybe because you've known Russo's leaving for 6 months, and you've identified Adriana Leon, that is seriously poor recruitment, I think. She is not a Russo type player. They're 2 different type of players. If Man United are reliant on the Russo type player up front, then if you're going to put Adriana Leon in that position and expect her to perform like Russo, that will end up in her getting a lot of backlash for maybe not scoring enough goals but having good performances. But actually, it relies on her going to a club that hasn't identified her in a right position and a right role, and she'll get backlash for it and not the club. I think if you look at Man United's men's team, their recruitment there is very poor. So this sort of turned into the recruitment of the women's team. I don't know what that's like, but it sounds like it's quite the same, to be honest.
Well, I think you're right.
Completely, yeah. I just want to come in on that then, from what you just described there for the last 20 minutes, more of her being a winger when we spoke about Galton. Is there a possibility that they could both play on the pitch? Could we see Galton on the left? Has Leon ever played on the right, or do you think she could play on the right?
I think she can play on the right, yeah, definitely. I think she's more of a left winger, but I think the main attribute of Leon is the idea of the pace, the knowledge to beat a player, and timing to skip that ball past her and go past them really quickly. She's also quite a silly player. She likes a few step overs and all that to put a show on sometimes. But I think she's definitely more of a left winger. She can play right wing. She can play up front if she needs to. She's not a complete striker, as we've said before. So yeah, I think she can play on both wings for sure.
I'm gonna wind up the comments, and I'm gonna wind up Barry here. Maybe Galton won't be playing left wing next year. Maybe she'll be playing left fullback just to replace a certain Spanish fullback. Maybe, I don't know. I'm only joking. I'm not gonna say that.
On the right, mate.
John, I've actually heard a few rumours as part of the deal. We're going to sign Leon for an extra month, and there's going to be an exchange between that will come into West Ham and Leon going to Manchester United. I just
Gotta love their sense of humour, isn't you?
Barry, let's just start. I just want to ask you this question. What was your initial thoughts when you saw that it was linked with this specific player? Because we've been linked with players over Twitter, and I can understand it. There's players coming out of contract. There's a lot of fans and people on Twitter who know when players are going to get a contract. They do a lot of research and this, that, and the other. But for me, this one had something a little bit extra. That's why I want to do a show on it. But what was your initial thoughts when you saw this particular player? Was you kind of think a bit excited about it? Was you asking yourself questions? Was you disappointed with it? Where was you kind of leaning towards?
There's a lovely build up on that question. I'm going to show you what my reaction was. It was that I scroll past everything unless it's got the words Manchester United Women's Football Club on it. It's like it's got nothing on it. There's no legs to it until it's physically definitely said. I know that loads of people enjoy it. I know that people have got to get their kicks somehow when the football's not happening. But I hate this part of the season because it's all you see. You know, it doesn't happen in any other part of it. You know, I've heard McDonald's are going to shut down at 9 o'clock tonight. It doesn't happen because there's an actual thing that tells you. It's called the website. You know when it's going to open. So I can't really stand it, to be honest with you, John. But if you're asking me just in general, if it were to become true, how would I accept the news? I'd accept it with the grace that it would come with. I've always said you trust Skinner, you trust the management, and you allow them to make the decisions they make, as long as they are fully aware, as I've said before, that they will live and die by that decision. So, you know, if they bring them in and it turns out to be fantastic, they will all sit there and say, hurrah, well done, Skinner. If it doesn't, then obviously it's the opposite in many ways, because they'll be like, why did you do that? I think it's very interesting. I think, again, it's not a like-for-like thing. I don't think we can say we're going to be bringing her in for Russo. I just don't think that makes sense. I think, for me, a bit like Rodney, really, I'm just sort of scratching my head as to what the point is. What is it we're trying to achieve? What is it that we think builds on what we've already got? We finished fourth in the league, so we need to improve that. We're trying to catch Manchester City. We're not trying to catch Spurs, you know? So we've got more, I think, that we need to worry about. And I suppose at the moment, I'm taking umbrage about how Leon's better than Gorton. In fact, better than any of us, because what I took a little look at is, in terms of goals, Thomas has scored 5 this season. Gorton scored 8, bearing in mind this is from the wings. And Leon, she's done 2. Now, I was in the middle of trying to look at assists when you came to me, but the best one I could find was actually Alessia Russo with 5 out of the ones that we're looking at. So I guess really, you know, if she's available to put these things on a plate, I suppose let's get controversial. If she's that good and she's able to do it, was it your strikers that just weren't good enough in terms of putting the ball in the back of the net, or is it that she's not there? You know, which level are we going down here? Because if you're telling me she's brilliant and she's going to put crosses in, and if Russo stayed, she'd be heading them in, and if she didn't, then Thomas would head them in, or anyone. I don't care. You know, Fuso, Jones. I'll take anyone up. She can go up front and put it in if she really wants to. I don't care. But, you know, it's what is it? Is it a lack of a goal threat at the front, or is it actually that she's not really all that good and that the West Ham fans are trolling us a little bit? And go on, take her, please.
We've had a strikers problem at West Ham since we started being in the FAWSL. Rodney will know that. Most of the shows I've been on and we've spoke, I've always moaned about us not having a striker. Our strikers weren't good enough this year. Again, it's probably why we were 15 points behind you. If we finished all of our chances this season, we may have cut that down to 8 or potentially even 5 points behind you. I just don't think our strikers are good enough. And I'll tell you something about Leon. Master Thomas will be key in with Adriana Leon if she goes to Manchester United, because I remember the end of the last season, Leon got back fit, and I think it may have been Matt. Yeah, I think it was Matt Beard in charge at the time. He put them up top together, and that was probably the best striker combination I've ever seen at West Ham in the WSL. Them two are fantastic up top together. If you put them two up top together, and Leon becomes a playmaker for Thomas, Thomas's goals will elevate probably to Russo numbers, if not more.
I mean, that is another thing, actually, what you said is that you've also got to think about the fact that just because somebody's coming in at a certain level, is this a case that Skinner's identified some points in her game where he feels that he can help her to improve, that he can help her to get better and to take it on to that next level. I mean, she's 29. It's not like she's, just learning the game and just cutting her teeth in the manner that Russo is. But absolutely, I think that could be something. I don't know if you put this up or not, John, but I'm just going to throw it up now. I wonder if this is more like it. If you were telling me, are we bringing in Leon to replace Fuso? Now that makes sense to me. I can see that. If Fuso's decided she wanted to go somewhere to get game time, then absolutely. This would make sense to me. And I go, all right, I can see what you're trying to do there. That seems reasonable. And if she works half as hard as Martha Thomas does, then absolutely, she'll be spot on. And obviously, Reese has already mentioned her temperament and her attitude. So to me, I would think that's probably more like it. I don't think for 1 second this is a replacement for Alessia Russo. Not for 1 minute. It's not to say she won't go, because I don't know. But again, I can't see why she would.
If
you watch, go. Sorry, Rodney.
That's all right. I was just thinking about what was said about Leon going in to kind of replace Fuso, if that was a possibility, and the change of formation that Man United would have to do with Martha Thomas and Leon up front. It does make sense, but then it's about what Manchester United want to do next season. Are they looking to change the way they play? Are they looking to change the formation? All of those things. And I'm not necessarily against. In fact, I'm not against the possibility of Leon going to Manchester United from West Ham. I'm just looking at the facts in terms of the points between the team and the goals that she scored in comparison to Russo. But if she is willing, if she wants to go to Manchester United, if she's determined, a player who's 29, is that correct? Is not going to go to a club and want to spend the bulk of their season on the bench. They must have an idea. They must have an idea that wherever they go, they're going to get game time. And that for me is kind of key. It depends, as much as Manchester United are linked or interested, or Brighton are interested, or Barcelona are interested. Depending on where you go as a player, you really want to know whether or not you're going to get minutes on the pitch. And let's be honest, the WSL don't have that many teams in the league. So if there is a set team, if you got like 4 or 5 games in a row and the manager doesn't change the squad, then that's like almost half, or say a good bulk of the games, not half, but a quarter of the games that you're going to play in the league will have gone already before you start to get momentum as a player. And at 29, who has bags of experience, you don't want to be on the bench. You want to play.
I think also in terms of recruitment.
I
think also in terms of recruitment, if you're Adriana Leon and you say all the rumours are true, you've got Barcelona, Real Madrid, Manchester United, Brighton. Right now, you're not really focusing on the Brighton move. I think you should rather start West Ham and go to Brighton, to be honest. But you've got Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Manchester United. Barcelona and Real Madrid have the conversation first, and they go, we can't guarantee you a first-team place. However, you'll be an integral part of the squad. And then you have to chat with Manchester United, Bradley and Leon. The only thing that's attracting you then to Manchester United is, 1, you want to stay in the country, or 2, they're guaranteeing you'll be in the starting 11 more times than you'll be on the bench. Because I honestly think if it's Barcelona, Real Madrid and Man United, and they're all saying you may be on the bench for most of it, however, you'll be an integral part of the squad, you're going to Barcelona or Real Madrid. You're not going to Manchester United.
Yeah.
On this left wing situation, sorry, Barry, just one quick one. Then I'll ask you this one. Then coming on your own points as well. Last season, we only really saw Leah Galton on that left wing, and we always cry out for 2 quality players in each position. Could it just be a case of we need someone just in case we need to rest Galton, or if Galton's not on form, and this is a player that we can bring in and they can just naturally fight it out between them, because we saw last season Tooney and Martha Thomas kind of fighting out on that right-hand side. We had Hansen and Fuzard there as well. Is this just a real good backup for Galton, or vice versa potentially? Obviously, we're biased so we're saying Galton is the first player, but it could be a case where Galton could actually be pushed and be better this season. Could that be the case, Barry?
Of course it could. I mean, we've said it in the show hundreds of times. It feels like, of course you want depth. All the good teams have got depth. They're not bringing on somebody who's not really recognised. They're not bringing on people just to blood youth. They're doing it because they know that they've got the quality. I mean, I don't often go to America when I'm thinking of things to say on this show, but that's why they call their players game changers, because that's the point of a sub bench. They're not there. Yes, you might have somebody for in case somebody's injured or something like that, but ultimately that's the purpose of having people on the subs bench, is that they're going to be able to do something that the others can't. That was why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was so good, because he had the ability to come on and turn a game, and he forged a career out of that. So, I think that is really quite important, of course, and it fits in kind of with what I was going to say originally, which is, she's not going to like it, but we're both vociferous. It's about this one again. Absolutely. Maybe they're not on the same planet. Maybe we are selling future potential. But I think people also have to recognise that we always seem to look at it as though it's the club that's doing it. If you're a player and you've gone up to, so let's pretend I'm Russo, which in no planet is ever going to be the case. But if I was, and I turned up to Mark Skinner and went, boss, I want to play more. First thing he's going to say is, well, how do I drop Martha Thomas? Look at the effort that she put in. Look how well she's been playing. She's got goals. She's got assists. She's fought hard in that position. She fights for the ball every single time. How do I drop that? She goes, all right, fair point. If I can do it in training, will I be starting? Probably not, Ivana. You're the backup. Okay, well, I'm not willing to accept that. I don't want to be the backup. Like Rodney just said, I want to play football. I'm not here for a giggle. I want to be playing football. I want to be on the pitch, but I'm not on the pitch. If you can't give me that, I'm not going to play. I don't want to play. So I don't want to sit on the bench. What do you then expect the managers to do? Do you sit? They obviously might try and put an arm around them. You might try and say to them, it's a team game, all that sort of thing. Let's be brutally honest. These people, they're not going to care too much about whether it's a team game if they're interested in playing football and developing their career. And when they're young, they don't want it to stagnate. So by that same situation, you can argue we've got Carrie Jones. We've just won the double with a development squad. We're not short of future potential. That's not something we're missing. What we said all the way through the back end of this league season, we need experience. And whilst Leon might not be somebody who's going to come in and have this fantastic experience of winning loads of stuff, she's not a WSL winner. West Ham, I think, is the only English side she's played for. What she does have is experience, because she's 29 years old. She's played lots of games internationally, which is a higher level than Russo's played at. To be fair, she's got more international experience than Russo in that respect. So she is aware of what these things take. So I just kind of think that we do have to not get too sentimental sometimes about the fact that we are going to get rid of potential, and also understand the fact that potential isn't going to win us the league. Potential is going to be a great thing to have when we're a few years down the road and we've got the experience already playing there and we're looking to try and blood new talent as we're coming through. We ain't in that position right now. We're just not. And you're not going to get the chance to do what Fergie did when he brought through all of the class of 92, because we're not in that situation either. The league isn't in that situation. So I just think we just need to just take a moment, breathe, and recognise the fact that it's just not as simple as just we have the power to stop them from going. Because if we did, do you not think Skinner would have done that? So I guess that's really where I'm kind of going with it, is that experience is what we were calling out for, and she's got that. So that is a string to her bow for sure.
Just like that's come to my mind as well, guys. And something I think a club with Adriana Leon that I think if she's not coming back to us, one club that hasn't been mentioned in any rumours But one club I could see definitely putting an offer in and going to get her would be Liverpool. I think in the WSL, she had a great relationship with Matt Beard, the manager at West Ham. I think she was very gutted when he left. I think there was actually a dip of performances after Matt left with her for a bit because of how gutted she was, and then she sort of got over it under Ollie. And I think the only reason she came to West Ham in the first place was because of Matt. So I think out of all the teams mentioned, if Liverpool go in and the wages are near, and she'll definitely be guaranteed the first team spot at Liverpool. I think that's a fact. I think Liverpool get her.
I didn't see that coming, Reese. I got to be honest. I didn't. Totally didn't see. I was thinking, it makes total sense, to be honest.
Maybe I should start off my own rumour channel. Get the money out of it.
Landlord in the comments agree with you. And there is a comment that I've seen up here that I just want to kind of touch on a little bit. And I'm sorry, I have lost it because there's quite a few. It's TJ, I think. Let's have a look. No, it's not this one. Sorry, TJ. It's a great comment, but it's not the one I was after. It's good, but it's not right. There was a comment. There was a comment earlier about if you're going to be adding strength in depth, you need to bring in starters, and then your current starting team to fall into the squad depth. I thoroughly understand that, but I think from a business sense, the more we look at this, if this is a player that could potentially compete with Galton, and we can get him on a free, then I think that's kind of a good business sense. Or if you could even break into that starting 11 who's out of contract, we'll just have to pay her wages. I think when you look at it from that point of view, I know it's like a glamour sign, you don't know we're not spending any money on it, but to get a player that can compete on that side for free, we're not just going to get one player this summer. We tend to get four or five. So if you're going to get, if one of your five is this type of player, it's not actually a bad shout. Obviously, that's one way of looking at it. Go on, Randy. Do you want to jump in a bit?
No, I think you're right in terms of if you're looking for a type of player in terms of their character, and they add to the depth of the squad. I mean, primarily the focus was, who was this player going to replace? Because that's how rumours work. It isn't just about squad depth. But, Manchester United will be looking at a certain type of player to come in as a club. The fans will be looking at a very different type of player to come in. And it's about how those two sections, the club and the fan base, kind of understand what's going on. And it might not necessarily be what the fans want. And that's nothing against the player or players that are coming in. But that's a fact. That's a fact. That's always a fact in terms of what fans talk about in terms of rumours. They always kind of have the eye line well beyond their reach. Is what's obtainable and what's desirable and not the same in terms of the players that you need. That's the realities of football. And when you think about some clubs who are having difficulties financially to bring players in, then if you can get a player for free, it makes whoever the owners are or back in the club, they're thinking that good bit of business because we save money. And it'll be probably not as much outlay in terms of wages because the player, if they decide to go to United, will want to go to Manchester United. As Reese has said, you've got options on the table. You've got two clubs in Spain, and you've got Manchester, and you've got Brighton. You kind of go where you think you might get a bit more wet in terms of the weather, a little bit warmer. You might get more time on the pitch. It's one of those. But I said at the beginning, I'm not against the player. I've watched her primarily a lot of when she was playing for Canada. Really liked the way she kind of travels with the ball. She's a threat on counter-attacks, direct, intelligent, and maybe, as fans, we didn't see the best of her in a West Ham shirt. Maybe the best of her will be in a Manchester United shirt. And even when Manchester United signed Martha Thomas, I was kind of like, really? And then you watch her play in United shirt and you go, yeah. There's a bit of humble pie that you have to eat to say, and I like Martha Thomas. I think she's a really good player. You know, really hard-working player. But it's always at the beginning when you see a player come in and you go, not sure. So it could be one of those not sure moments, and then when the season starts, it's a very, very different story.
You know, with
Oh,
Martha Thomas as well, I remember doing a show on here. I think it was with John and Natalie and Ali and Joe from the West Ham. Actually, I forgot their name now. And we all came on, and it was me and Joe that was so positive about Martha Thomas, and a lot of Manchester United fans weren't too happy about the signing. But the first thing we mentioned, and I'm sure John will remember, is she has a fantastic work rate, and that's how she'll improve Manchester United. With Leon, how she'll improve Manchester United is she probably will give Mark Skinner more tactically in terms of this Leon versus Galton sort of thing. To be honest, I think Galton's probably near the level of Adriana Leon, but I think they're both better in other attributes of the game than each other. So I think it will definitely be based on your opponent who you play in terms of which one you pick.
So just on that then, so the way we play is it's well known in the Man United fan base. Galton and Hansen in the previous seasons run down the wing, put crosses in, or obviously create something for themselves. It's a lot different under Skinner. We don't necessarily run down the touchline. We do like cut in a little bit and play inverted forwards. Is that the kind of way you can see Leon playing?
Yeah, Leon likes to sort of she's very diverse. It sort of sometimes at West Ham she had a very free role, and it depends on what she wanted to do, what she felt was right at the time. Sometimes she'd take a load of players, drop into the middle of the park from the wing, take a load of players on, get us further up the pitch, have a shot on goal, pass the ball through as a number 10 sometimes onto the striker, and then let them onto the shot. And then other times she'll down the wing, beat a player for pace, cut in and shoot. That's the type of player she is. It's one of them too.
Barry, I know you got something to share on screen. This has come from, sorry if I got the pronunciation wrong. The name is Jesper Hagloff. He's a Swedish data analyst. You've probably seen it on Twitter in the past 24 hours. All this kind of stuff goes over my head, but it's great graphics and it's good for people in the comments as well. Over 20 people watching, by the way, so thank you very much for sticking with us. Here we go. So Barry's got technical here. He's gone with this one first. Talk us through it a little bit, Barry.
Yeah, this was good. First of all, I had to learn out the technology without Connor's help, might I add. I didn't even ask. I just went through it, got it early, managed all that, and then it's also like, I'm talking through it as well. Wait until you see the next one, gang. That's the one that kills us all. So apparently this is, cheers, John. Carries per 90. Carries per 90. Obviously, you can't carry a ball, so it's not rugby. But clearly, the black dots are all of the league players, and the big red dot that was sort of lost in the middle there is Adriana Leon. So you're looking per 90. Let's be honest, what we're saying there is that she's got less than one carry per 90, is what it seems to say there. I'm not entirely convinced that they are potentially the numbers that are the greatest. But if you ignore the numbers at the bottom, which is what I've chosen to do for the purposes of this particular TED Talk, is to notice that if you look at the number of dots, clearly the number at the bottom is greater on the right. So therefore, there are less dots on the right-hand side of the picture than there is on the left-hand side of the picture. So therefore, that tells me she's in the upper quartile. There we go, some good words for you. Which basically means she's one of the top players for carries per 90. So that was the first one. Thought you enjoyed that one. We'll stop sharing that now because my computer screen isn't as clever as his. And then I'll show you the second one. Can you fill some time, please, John?
Yeah, I saw some time. I think that's interesting to see, actually, because obviously for someone who's still learning a bit about her and this, that, and the other, to see that she's actually in that upper quartile, I like the terminology, is obviously really positive. And for the person who's actually put this out, it is positive. It's obviously a fan of hers because he's chose to get some stats here who are positive. This one looks crazy.
Yeah, this one was, it's done me in, this one. I mean, I don't know. I can't tell you what it's actually meant to say because it's talking about received per rec. Now, when I type that into Google, which I don't often do because you've got to be careful with that sort of thing, it came up with the NFL. So that was clearly the wrong avenue to go down. I tried putting in Allsvenskan, and that took me to Sweden. I tried putting in Playmaker, and that took me to a different website where apparently there was only 3 games played by Russo. So I decided to ignore that and again just go with what the basics were. Having looked at the actual tweet that he put out, what this is basically saying is that she makes good runs behind the defence, is basically what this graphic is supposed to show you. And what this one definitely tells us is that she is miles ahead of the rest of the people in the WSL in terms of her ability to find space. And I think that does speak to what Reece mentioned earlier on, which is improving the team tactically. Because I will say one of the things that frustrated me most in the game against Aston Villa, which we drew 0-0, was it just didn't seem like we were moving as well as we could have done to receive the ball. We seemed to be getting it nicely in the first 2/3, but in the final third, we didn't seem to have that movement, and therefore the option wasn't there to get the ball through. We did have a couple of opportunities, obviously, that we should have put away and didn't. And Martha Thomas was, I think, the best chance for that, wasn't it? Because she had the one at the far post that just went wide. But I think what this potentially tells us is that she's in a position where she will run with the ball. She will be able to find those spaces behind the defence. And let's be brutally honest, those sort of things are really helpful. And if she's half as good at crossing as Reece tells us, then we should be in a good position with that. So I don't know, Reece and Rodney, is there anything that you've seen there on these graphics that make you want to get involved, or should we remove that as quickly as possible?
No, I mean, on what you've got up there now, I would say that she receives the ball in the final quarter. That's I'm trying to work out in terms of received per rec what that means, and if she receives the ball in the final quarter of the pitch, that's where she's probably most potent. That makes sense. You're not expecting her to receive it on the edge of the 18-yard box or anything like that. So it, with statistics or data, it depends on what story you want to tell. But it depends on the story, and you can show the data, and it can be positive and it can be a negative. Like with most statistics, I think in terms of this player, it's what we've seen of her in a West Ham shirt that she will be judged on more than anything with regards to the link to Manchester United and other teams, and what she does and what she doesn't do. And what she doesn't do or hasn't been able to do is being like a regular goal threat, but she does have a good work ethic. And if that's what you're looking at, if you're looking at her creativity and her work ethic, then yes, it makes sense. If you're looking at the goal output in terms of what the data, then you think, well, I'm not sure. I'm not saying no, but I'm saying I'm not sure. So it's about what does the team need, and what are they, realistically able to kind of bring in terms of the players that they want. And if she's the player that the club want, and they think that she will fit in and she will add value or experience, then it makes sense. But going back to what we were talking about right at the beginning, if it was to replace someone who's a goal scorer, then I couldn't understand why. That was for me, it was like linked to Russo going out. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But as an additional player to bring into the squad, to add depth, to add experience, to add international experience more than anything, yes, total yes, I understand that.
Yeah, do you want to just comment on that, Reece? Because a lot of these facts on screen is kind of backing up kind of what you've been saying throughout the show.
Yeah, I was going to say none of the data really surprises me. From what I remember at West Ham, that date is absolutely correct. Yeah, that's all I have to say really, John.
Barry, thanks for putting that on screen and talking through it at short notice, because we had to do a bit of research there. But no, thank you for that while I was pouring my drink.
Lastminute.com is always my friend, John. I work best under pressure.
I've always wanted to be on the TED Talk as well.
Well, you're welcome. Everybody's welcome on the Barry TED Talk.
The more we talk, and the more we kind of keep talking, we start thinking more things and breaking more things up and breaking things down. And the more now I'm thinking to myself, well, this kind of player suits Skinner. someone who's obviously going to come in field and not just necessarily hug the touch line. Someone who can find space behind and also pick out a pass. Also, someone who can actually make that one behind. Because I think a number of times last year we kind of got very impatient as a fan group, as a fan base, that we was playing slowly, but no one was making those runs behind. Potentially, she could be the player to do that. Also, the whole winning mentality of the national side and the maturity of her as well. I can see a lot of plus points into bringing her into the squad. I really can, and I'll go back to what I said as well. On a free contract, is obviously a bargain. Someone who's used to the WSL, so you're not getting against someone from a foreign league who may not settle right away, who might be good long term, but might not necessarily short term. So I can see a lot of positives for this. Just maybe one negative that I would probably say is we are in the fan base. We know that Man United put plans in place years ahead. Part of me thinks that this isn't years ahead. A part of me think, oh, okay, is it a rush job? Now, I don't know if it is a rush job. That makes me think, have they been forced into it? Has something happened behind the scenes? Is someone going that we wasn't expecting? This is the negative side of it. Go on, Reece, do you want to come in on that one? And then Rodney, just maybe kind of give your thoughts on potentially being a rush job.
Do you want me to go first or Reece?
Go on, Rodney, you start. Yes, that's fine.
It could come across as a rush job. It could come across if you look at the league finish the way it ended, you would think, that the failure to get third place may have changed plans, and then when that happens, you change focus on the players that you need to bring in. The budget that you thought you were going to have, if you had European games, is not there anymore, so therefore everything changes. So it does seem like a rush job. And, I know that we had a little kind of Twitter chat and to and fro, John, and it was, if this player does end up going to the club, you want it to be a positive experience for the player, but also there has to be an understanding from the fan base that this is what it is. This is the situation, and you can't blame the manager for the situation of not getting into Europe. I know some may, but you cannot. So you can have all the best plans in the world in terms of, it's a rush job. But if you're pinning your next move on revenue that you haven't yet secured, then yes, it seems like a rush job. But that's just individuals at the poker table rolling the dice and whatever else is that they do when they gamble and thinking it hasn't gone their way, so they had to then go regroup. And this might be one of those moments.
I think Rodney's actually got it quite bang on, to be honest. I think for a lot of the season, it looked like Manchester United was going to get a UEFA Women's Champions League spot. I'm sure transfer plans would have been based on Manchester United being in that, and then maybe they had backup targets in case they didn't get Champions League. And of course, I think she was definitely maybe one of the backup targets. And to be honest, I don't know you guys feel. I think, with the way the season went, the sort of head start you had on Man City, because they went quite late into pre-season and they had to warm up. I think at one point you had already healthy points lead, and then to not get UEFA Women's Champions League, I think it could be deemed as a failure, to be honest.
You know what? Just as Reece was saying that, it made me think about if Manchester United did achieve third place. Imagine they did, and this situation had developed with Lyon being available, and Man United said, "Yeah, we're going for Lyon because of her experience." I don't think anyone would have batted an eyelid. I don't, because they would have looked at her international clout and gone, "Yeah, she's got international experience. It fit." But because there's no Champions League football. And this is what I said to you about, the transfer targets that fans have in mind and what the club are. The difference between obtainable and desirable, two different things. And I think if Man United finished third and they said, "Yeah, we're getting Adriana Leon from West Ham because of it," and they just said that sentence on its own, I don't think there would be any discussion at all. None.
Barry, do you agree with that? Being a United fan?
That's such a big thing, Rodney. I mean, I'm seeing so much here at the moment, and you know, I'm usually quite calm, but I can't really see what's going on here. I'm going to just find it. Sorry, because this is.
I haven't read the comments. I've taken my glasses off.
I can read it for you. I'll do the TED Talks, don't forget. So, wow, how far our standards have dropped. I think what Rodney says is spot on. If we make it to third, it's maybe a different conversation. Absolutely. And how you word things is always a better thing. You know, if you can do it correctly, then people will come with you. If you don't, then they're very much going to be anti what you've just said, which is why I'm trying to pick the right words for what I'm about to say. But
all right,
I just don't think. No, not you. This lot. I don't think the standards have dropped that much at all. It's that difference that you just said between what's attainable and what's desirable. Now, if you're telling me what do I want, well, we're going to go out there, we're going to go and get Mateus because she's won the Ballon d'Or. So that's a player that I want to get to Manchester United. Why won't she come to Manchester United? Because we finished fourth and she's not bothered about winning the WSL. She can't have that player. So now you've got to start looking for other players. But these players are playing in the Champions League and Manchester United are not. And even if we were playing in the Champions League, John, I don't know if you noticed, but I think it was City. They went out like first round. So are people going to come to Manchester United to play in the Champions League if it's only a potential to play 1 or 2 games in a knockout round before you even get to the league stages? So we've got to recognise, I know people don't like hearing it, but we're 4. I'm sorry, we're 4 years old. And there are people that want us to just be the Manchester United that the men's game's got now. And we're not. It needs building up. The Manchester United in the men's game didn't become as prolific and brilliant as they are until Alex Ferguson took hold of them in 1987. And even then, we nearly mucked that one up by sacking him. You know, it was a really 86, sorry. It was a really bad idea to try and get rid of him. We didn't, and look what happened. We just gave the faith to the manager. He might get it completely wrong, Skinner. He might turn out to be the women's version of Alex Ferguson. We don't know yet because we don't have that crystal ball in the future. But we have got to sit here and start thinking about what our standards actually are. Our standards haven't dropped because we finished 4th 3 seasons on the trot. So the standards haven't dropped. They've just remained stagnant. That's a very different situation. And we are trying to get into third. And we came the closest that we've come in terms of battling for it. And I just think we just need to just take a moment. You know, just think about it a little bit. You know, we do sign experienced players. We did sign Jade Moore. Unfortunately, she was injured. We signed Senior Brun. She was injured. We're going to buy Leon. Apparently, she quite likes an injury too. Perhaps this is in the scouting report. We want people that aren't always available. I don't know. But I think it comes down to this. There's 2 ways for doing it. And I don't like it when I agree with Connor. But I'm going to do it anyway. This is spot on, right? There's 2 ways. There's more than one way to skin a cat, isn't there? Absolutely. What Lanzell said earlier on, you've got 11 main starters. If you can get players that are potentially at or better than that level, then they're going to make each other fight for that position. Absolutely. But the ones that are better, just better than us, are going to be sniffing around the places like Manchester City because they're having a rebuild. And at this moment in time, they're in a situation where they want to achieve third and they've got the Champions League. So if we're looking for people that are just above us, that's the issue we've got. So it's a really difficult divide. There's people in these comment section that are talking about this as if literally all you've got to do is go up to them and go, "Oi, mate, do you want to play for Man United?" And they go, "Yeah, of course I do." And then that's it. Brilliant. Sign your name there. It's not. It's a business. You've got to have a thing to make it happen. If we could do that, I'd be selling this pen for like £1 million. Look, do you want a pen? It's a biro. It's brilliant. It doesn't work that way. There's got to be something in it. And there's 2 sides to it. The other side has got to say yes. You know, consent is important in football too. All right? It's really important. So let's not think it's all about standards. It's about actually, if we can just build up the bits that weren't good enough when we brought them on from the bench, because we weren't changing games when we were bringing players on from the bench as much. I can still remember why it was when we took Russo off for a midfield player. And I remember still sitting there going, "Listen, I love you, Mark, but what the hell was that? Why are we doing that? You don't score goals by replacing strikers with midfielders." So, you know, I just think, I'm sorry, I've gone on to one a little bit there. I don't normally, you know, there's still 18 people, so I don't think I've done too much damage. But seriously, can we all just take a breath? Take a breath. We're four. If this is still the case in 10 years' time, come at me, bro. But seriously, it won't be, because we'll be in the Champions League by then, with or without Leon.
Thank you very much. Look, I think that's a very good way to end the show. I do want to ask Reece one last question. It's been in the comments a couple of 3 times, and I did them myself. We've had Jane Ross off you. We've had Martha Thomas off you. If we end up having Leon off you as well, out of those 3, who do you think will be the best player that we've got off you, mate?
Thomas.
Reckon? Okay. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing a link up with Leon. I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. And as you said at the start of the show, we have been impressed with Thomas. Well, I have, and I know a lot of other people who've come in on this channel have been as well. We're going to end it because it's been an hour. It's been an hour, and I appreciate the time. As always, you could ask a lot more questions. But thank you to everybody in the comments as well. There's been a lot of debate, a lot of questions, a lot of people actually getting involved in the comments as well. So thank you very much.
I'd love to say that even though I've had an argument with them, I love every single person in that comment section because the show is nothing without. But, you know, there you go.
Oh, love it. Rodney, great to see you back on the channel, mate.
Thanks.
Anything you want to shout out at all, mate?
Well, no, to be honest, no, I'm just enjoying not doing anything myself. I'm relaxing, so no shouting out. It's good to see Reece. It's been a long time, and yeah, it's been nice. It's been a nice conversation, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Rodney. I really appreciate you coming on. Reece, thank you for coming on a short notice as well. Thank you very much, mate.
Thanks, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Excellent. Yeah, and I feel like I've learned a lot, and I'm sure people in the comments have as well. Barry, you'll be on tomorrow night, won't you, on the fans forum?
I will be, and on our fans forum, we'll be discussing this comment just here. I think it's outrageous how Connor's got the cheek to disagree with me. Anyone can be attracted with the right pay packet. Yeah, well, if you say so. No, yes, we'll be on tomorrow. We've got some great guests, so come on in. The water's fine.
Lovely, and thank you to everybody in the comments. Got some nice comments there at the end of the show. So thank you very much, and we shall see you again soon.